You didn't just feel tired, you felt empty. Number like your soul had left the room. People thought you were lazy, distant, depressed. But the truth is, you died. Spiritually, you lost your fire, your dreams felt meaningless, your prayers hit the ceiling, and your heart, cold, silent, alone. But what they don't know is that this death was divine. God let it happen because something greater is coming. You're not being buried, you're being resurrected with power, with purpose. And when you rise this time, nothing and no one will be able to stop you. You didn't even realize when it started. One day you woke up and something inside of you was gone. The fire you once had, the passion, the hunger. It had all faded without warning. You kept showing up, smiling, pretending, but deep inside you were bleeding silently. Your spirit had collapsed under the weight of life, betrayal, heartbreak, and disappointment. People around you didn't notice it because you were good at hiding the war within. They didn't see the nights you spent crying without a sound, the days you walked around feeling like a ghost in your own life. You felt disconnected from everything, even from God. You prayed, but nothing moved. You waited, but nothing changed. You tried to speak, but your voice felt worthless. And slowly, painfully, your soul started shutting down. Not because you didn't care anymore, but because you cared too much and kept getting crushed. This wasn't just burnout, this was a spiritual death. God was quiet and you were drifting. You began to wonder if you ever truly had a purpose, if you were ever really chosen, or if that was just something you made up to survive. And that doubt, it buried you even deeper. But what you didn't know then is that even in your silence, heaven was still watching. It's hard to understand why a loving God would allow you to sink so deep, to be stripped of everything that once made you feel alive. But that's exactly what had to happen. See, God doesn't just build people, He breaks them first. Not because He's cruel, but because the version of you that was built by pain, trauma, ego, and other people's opinions wasn't strong enough to carry the anointing that's on your life. You had to be emptied so He could fill you with something divine. What looked like abandonment was actually preparation. What felt like punishment was really protection. God knew that if you kept going in that direction, surrounded by the wrong people, chasing the wrong dreams, believing the wrong things about yourself, you would have self-destructed. So He stepped back, not to leave you, but to let everything false fall away. He let you lose the job, the relationship, the friends, the illusions. Because until you hit the ground, you wouldn't have looked up. Until your heart was broken, you wouldn't have opened it to Him. Until your soul was shattered, you wouldn't have allowed Him to rebuild it. And yes, the fall was humiliating. You questioned everything. You felt cursed, you felt forgotten, but the truth is, God was never closer to you than in that lowest moment. He was silent, yes, but He was working. Behind the scenes, He was already designing your comeback. He allowed you to die in the flesh so that He could resurrect you in the spirit. Because the power He's about to pour into you can't be mixed with your past identity. It had to die. And it did. At first, it's subtle. It doesn't come with thunder or angels singing. It starts quietly, like a whisper in your soul that says, "Get up." After all the pain, all the silence, all the emptiness, you start to feel something. A flicker, a breath, a shift. You wake up one day and for the first time in months or years, you feel a strange peace, even if your circumstances haven't changed. That's not random, that's resurrection. Suddenly, the things that once drained you no longer have power over you. The voices that once shaped your identity sound distant. You begin to see life differently. Your mind is no longer obsessed with the past or the pain. It starts to search for meaning again. Your heart, though still healing, begins to hope again. The music hits different. The silence feels sacred instead of empty. You begin to hear God again, not with your ears, but in your spirit. He speaks in new ways now, and you recognize it. That's a sign. The very same people and environments that once controlled your energy no longer affect you the same way. Why? Because you're no longer living from your wounds, you're rising from them. You start having visions again. Dreams return, ideas flow, opportunities start showing up, but this time you're not desperate to grab them. You have discernment, you feel guided, not just ambitious. You feel called, not just driven. That's how you know something supernatural is happening. Even your physical body responds, your energy rises, your sleep changes, your appetite for distractions disappears. You feel a holy hunger for purpose. You're no longer trying to survive. You're preparing to lead. God doesn't just breathe life back into you so you can go back to what broke you. He resurrects you to send you forward with power. This new energy you're feeling isn't random, it's sacred. It's the wind of resurrection lifting you out of what should have destroyed you. The old you is gone, and every sign around you confirms it. You didn't just survive to go back to living an ordinary life. God allowed the old you to die so He could give birth to something unstoppable. What's being resurrected in you now is not weak, soft, or unsure. It's power. Not human power, not pride, but divine authority. A spiritual confidence that doesn't need validation, applause, or approval. The kind of power that doesn't shout. It walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere. It's not loud, but it's undeniable. You were always gifted, but now you're anointed. And there's a difference. Talent can impress people, anointing breaks chains. You were always intelligent, but now you have wisdom. Before, you tried to fix everything with your own strength. Now you're learning to move with divine strategy, and it shows. You no longer chase. Things are drawn to you. You no longer fight for acceptance. People recognize your energy without you speaking a word. That's not ego. That's spiritual elevation. This new power is also why you feel a separation happening. You're not crazy. You're not antisocial. You're ascending. And when God gives you real power, He isolates you first, because power given too soon will destroy a person. But you've been through the fire, you've been tested, and you stayed standing when others folded. That's why heaven is trusting you now with this next level. Your words are starting to carry weight. Your presence is becoming prophetic. You're walking into places you were once rejected from, but now you're the answer. That's resurrection power. Not just to feel alive again, but to make others come alive too. And here's the part most people won't tell you. With power comes responsibility. You're not just being raised for you, you're being raised to carry others, to speak life into the dead places of this world. To lead, to heal, to break cycles, to destroy curses that have held generations captive. That's why it took so long. That's why it was so painful. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared to hold what most people would collapse under. You had to die to your old self so you could rise with this. What's flowing through you now is holy. It's dangerous to darkness, and it's only just beginning. Now that resurrection power is flowing through you, the most dangerous thing you could do is return to what once killed you. You've come too far, you've suffered too deeply, you've been chosen for too much. This new version of you isn't meant to blend in, it's meant to stand out, and that requires alignment. You can't keep feeding your spirit with the same distractions, the same relationships, the same environments that drained you before. You have to protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. You are not who you were, and that means your habits, your focus, your circle, and your decisions must reflect the elevation you've received. God didn't raise you just to impress people. He raised you to impact them, and that means you can't be afraid to walk alone. The calling on your life will offend the comfort zones of others. Let them be uncomfortable. You weren't resurrected to keep others calm. You were resurrected to shake things up. Your words carry weight now, so speak with intention. Your presence commands attention now, so carry yourself with purpose. This isn't the time to shrink. This is the time to step in fully. No more apologizing for your light. No more hiding your gifts. No more entertaining things that drain your spirit. Every moment is sacred now. Every decision is a seed. What you do in silence today will determine what heaven releases to you tomorrow. And hear this clearly. You don't need to be perfect to walk in your power. You just need to be willing. Willing to let go of the old mindset. Willing to shut doors God already closed. Willing to trust the voice within you even when it scares you. Willing to move even when it's lonely. God is not asking you to be flawless, He's asking you to be faithful. Because resurrection is not a one-time event. It's a daily choice, a daily surrender, a daily discipline. Every day you either rise again or slip back into what buried you. So ask yourself, what are you feeding your spirit? Who has access to your peace? Where are you placing your time, your focus, your fire? You've been given something sacred. Don't waste it. Guard your soul. Protect your purpose. Move with power. Walk like someone who was dead and came back with the hand of God on their life, because that's exactly who you are. Look at yourself now. You're still here, not by accident, not by luck, but by grace. After everything you've faced, after the spiritual death, the silence, the heartbreak, the isolation, the questions, the nights you wanted to give up, you're still here. That alone is proof of your purpose. God doesn't resurrect what He's finished with. If you're still breathing, it means He's not done. It means there's still a fire in you that hell couldn't extinguish. You were buried, yes, but not to stay there. You were planted, and now you are rising with roots deeper than before and branches stretching toward a purpose far greater than you imagined. Everything that tried to destroy you has now become your training ground. The weakness you felt is becoming your strength. The pain you endured is becoming your platform. The rejection you suffered is becoming your redirection, and every tear you cried in secret is being turned into fuel for your future. God allowed the death so He could prove the resurrection. He allowed the silence so His voice could be clearer. He allowed the breaking so the oil inside of you could be poured out. That oil is your anointing. That pain is your power. That storm was your preparation. And now the world will see what heaven already knew, that you are chosen. But this resurrection isn't just for you. It's for the ones watching you, the ones who are still in their valley, the ones who think it's over, the ones who believe God forgot them. You're not just a survivor, you're a witness. Your life is the evidence that God still moves, that purpose still stands, that calling can't be canceled by circumstance. You carry a light now, not just for yourself, but for others who are trying to find their way out of the darkness you once lived in. This is bigger than you. You've been called to shake generations, to break cycles, to speak truth, to walk in divine authority, not because you're perfect, but because you've been reborn. So no, you're not who you used to be. That version of you died, but what came back is dangerous. What came back has clarity. What came back has vision. What came back is ready for the assignment. You're no longer asking for permission. You're walking in purpose. And everything that tried to kill you spiritually just made you more powerful in the spirit. Now walk, not like someone who's trying to find the way, but like someone who is the way for others. The resurrection wasn't the end. It was only the beginning.